All right, so I got Aaron Kraft here, and former Ohio State Buckeye, and has been playing professional basketball overseas now for quite a while. Aaron, why don't you just tell us where you've been since you graduated from Ohio State and what's been going on?
Yeah, this is my sixth year of professional basketball. I spent 2 years in the developmental league out in California in Santa Cruz. It was amazing. Paycheck wasn't great, but it was amazing. Then I played in Italy 3 years ago. And after Italy, went to Monaco, which was also just gorgeous. And then last year I started in Montenegro, and in November actually transitioned back to my team in Italy that I was on, and this year I went back to that same team in Italy. So I've spent about 2.5 years in Italy with that same team.
Yeah. Now, was it, and I'm just trying to remember, was it 3 years ago that when you were here with us? Was that about
I,
the time?
yeah, I think so. I think it was 3 years ago, 3 summers ago. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you came and spoke and was a part of our leadership training, and we
Mhm.
had a special event night. And it was a fun night, and I remember a lot of our students and coaches really appreciated you being here. But since then, you've added to the family, haven't you?
We have my wife and I. We have a son now. He's 14 months. He's keeping us on a regular routine right now, which is good. Good.
A lot of different from going from just being a husband to a daddy now.
For sure, for sure. I think every when before you get married, right before you get married, everyone says you never really had to die to yourself before. So you get married and you start realizing, yeah, you're right, I never have. And then I think the same thing happened when we had Owen. You think you're doing a decent job of, oh, I'm dying to myself. Yeah, no, you're not. There's always those extra steps that you can really do to put others first. And now that there are two of them and one of them cannot do pretty much anything for himself, you really start seeing how, at least for me, how much I pull in on certain things, whether it's I need time to rest, I need some alone time, or I need this and that. It's been a good learning experience. It's been tough, but I love it. He brings us so much joy, so I can't complain.
Excellent. All right, and so you're over in Italy, and then this whole coronavirus hits, and Italy is the talk of the news. Besides China, it's like China and Italy were hotspots. How did that affect you? What was going on with you at the time?
Yeah, it was a weird progression actually. My wife and I, we got a break from the team in February, so we actually went to Morocco just on a trip, all three of us, see something new. Went to the sand dunes, had a great time. But when we came back in the airport, they were taking our temperature,
Mm.
and I remember thinking, probably ignorantly, like this is weird. Like, what are they doing? And no joke, a week later, it just exploded in Italy. They started canceling games. They started canceling practice. They told us we were on lockdown for 2 weeks. So it started off kind of joking, and then it got really serious pretty quick. So it was a challenge. It's tough to wrap your head around everything, and especially where we lived in northern Italy, so we were 2.5 3 hours from those areas that are considered like the hottest spots potentially in the world.
Yeah.
So it was intense.
Wow. And so at what point in time did you pack up and come back? Because you're back in Ohio now.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
happened there?
yeah. We are. We actually we fought it. We went back and forth just about every day. My wife and I, anytime we'd have a break, we'd talk about what should we do? Should we stay? Should we go? And there were a lot of decisions or a lot of pieces in the decision. First was we were trying to think of Owen. He was 13 months. I don't know if you've ever been around a 13-month-old, but they grab everything. They want to touch. They want to put their mouth on things. And an airport and an airplane is not a great place for that to be going on right now. So we were thinking of his health. We were thinking contractually for me, I was still with the team. So if for whatever reason I come to the U.S. and can't make it back, we forfeit the rest of the contract, and I can't be there to play with the team. Um, Italy's a little ahead of the U.S. in the curve, so if we come back to the U.S., it's kind of like we're moving backward in time. It was a lot, but finally they made a decision that nothing was in Italy was going to happen until at least probably the beginning of May. So at that point, we decided on a Thursday night at like 8 o'clock. All right, I think we should go, and travel back home is not easy. So we had to take a train from Trento to Rome, which was a 4.5, 5 hour train. Stayed in a hotel Friday night, got up, got on a plane at 10:45, and we ended up landing in Detroit around 11 p.m. or no, around 9:30 p.m. And it's surreal. It's kind of like it's a creepy movie right now for sure.
Wow. And what you were saying earlier to me, you just found out about the season. What's that?
Yeah, yeah. So when we came back, it was a little like a week and a half ago. I was expecting to have to go back to finish the season at some point. And actually, just yesterday, they made an announcement that they canceled the rest of the season. So my season's over, and bigger picture of my career is over now too. So there's a lot of processing that needs to happen at some point.
Yeah. So you're going through it. You're a seasoned athlete. You've been around. What word of advice would you give to the athletes now that had their season cut short? Because we had a local team, Napoleon girls basketball team, was down for the semifinals. I mean, they were down for state Final Four, and they were on the court getting ready to start their game, and they got pulled off, and their season came to an end. I mean, for them, and even for the spring sports that were thinking they were getting started, you have any word of advice or encouragement for them?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I think you have to say it's okay to grieve some. Like being for me, being a believer, believing in God and trusting Him that everything's working together for our good is great, but it also doesn't eliminate the possibility of grieving, because we have had something taken away that we worked a lot for. We put a lot of time and effort into, and it should hurt some, to a degree. I think it should, and it's okay to feel that way. At some point, and for me too, it's gonna, like I said earlier, it's gonna be a processing moment. God is not silent throughout this. He's not ignoring everything. He's not ignoring me. He's not ignoring us. And he's already showed me some things to not maybe to help me through, but help me understand a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's about being patient, and I think that's being patient for people that had stuff canceled and for everyone. There's no end, known end. There's no prediction that can make this better. But we do have, as odd as it seems, there is an opportunity in front of us to do something, to grow closer to your family, to grow closer to God, to really search yourself and kind of understand how you tick. Why does having this season, this game canceled, why does it hurt so much? Is it a good hurt, or is it a hurt that's kind of probably has your sport overstepped a boundary that it shouldn't? So I think there is an opportunity buried in all of this. It's there. We have to do some work to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to sort of wrap this up with about your faith, because you're talking about it's okay to grieve, and you're still but God's teaching us something. God's still on the throne during all this. When did you first come to ask Jesus Christ into your life?
Yeah. If this would have happened early on in high school, I think I'd be struggling just like a lot of people are. I started asking questions and understanding who God was going into my senior year in high school. Just understanding, putting sport in its proper place, and not just sport, but everything. Understanding it can never fill the gap, the void, and that I felt I had. And that's when I really started seeing, a relationship with Him was what I needed, and it was something that would never change, that I could count on, that could never be taken away. Even though when you're young, you think you're invincible and nothing can be taken away. As you grow older, as I've gotten older, it's pretty clear things slowly, they slowly get removed and taken away. So I think that's what really appealed to me was, God was there. God wasn't going to ever leave me. And it wasn't based on who I was or anything I did, because at that time it really felt like people liked me because of my academic performance or my athletic performance. He liked me because of who I am, and maybe in spite of who I am. So that's been a process since, when I was a senior in high school.
Yeah. So it was in high school then when you gave your life to Christ, and then in college you got discipled by some teammates. Was that
Yeah,
right?
I would say going into my senior year, I made the confession to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. It wasn't until college really that I was surrounded by a group of guys, not necessarily teammates, but guys playing other sports that
Mm.
gave gave a vision for what being a Christian man was like. For whatever reason, I had this vision that a Christian man was kind of a little soft,
Yeah.
wasn't really that cool, was kind of stuck up. And these guys were rough, tough. They had tattoos. They played these hockey and baseball. They played these tough sports, and they loved the Lord. And it opened my eyes to see this is real Christianity. This, you live your life. God puts us in these spheres, and really you're a more fierce competitor as a believer than if you're not. At least I think you should be. So
Yeah.
that was really a big stepping stone for me to see that I can be authentic and real and still believe in God.
That's cool. So I was reading this article, and it's funny because when we started hearing about Italy, I'm thinking you're one of the first guys that came to mind. It's like, man, I wonder how Aaron and Amber are doing. And my boys said that they were still following you on social media, and I don't know how, but one of them said, well, he's doing this now. And I was like, well, how did he know? So, and then about a couple of days later, Athletes in Action put out an article that you were featured in. And I was like, all right, I got to get a hold of Aaron and just see how he's doing. But I just want to read this. We'll wrap it up. In the article, you said this, then there's salvation, something I think a lot of us dream our sport can give us. We hope our sport can save us from a myriad of things, but I think for me, the biggest might be insignificance. I think if I win enough championships, collect enough stats, or earn enough money, I will solidify my spot in history. I don't know if you want to expand on that, but I thought it was interesting. Again, as an athlete, you sort of sit there and think, my sport will save me, and that's where I find my significance. Do you want to comment on that at all, or?
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is something that I've definitely battled with probably most of my career. Definitely in college when there's more attention on you, but even as a pro, it's so difficult to play the line of taking your sport seriously, loving your sport, and giving your sport your all, but then like allowing God to handle the outcome. It's a tough line to walk. So for me, obviously, or according to that, I tend to step over that line often, thinking that basketball could be what I'm remembered for. And even just saying that out loud, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. I hope basketball is not what people remember me for and about, because basketball is great and I love it. It's a fun game. It gets you excited, but it doesn't really add significance to anyone's life. It doesn't build anyone up, encourage them in lasting, impactful ways. So to view basketball in that way is unfair to the game, to be honest. The game's not meant to carry that weight. Any game, any sport, it's not meant to hold that weight. It's meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be competed at a high level, to get after it. And, I do those things. I love it.
Yeah.
But there's a line that it's not supposed to cross. And that's one big thing I think God's been teaching me. Even now, like I said, my season's over. My career is over. When I work out now, I will no longer be working out for any other purpose other than trying to not to get chubby. It's different. It's tough. But I'm still Aaron. I still have significance in this world because God loves me. God values me, even though I can't play another meaningful competitive basketball game in my life. So that's awesome. And it's a relief, because like I said before, God, that value, that intimacy that God offers cannot be taken away. Like even like something as crazy as a pandemic can take away everything from us. God will always be there. So that's what he's teaching me. That's something he's opened my eyes to, and hopefully, I hope no one else struggles with it, but my thinking is they probably do too.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Aaron, thanks for your time. So I'm going to wrap this up with a one phrase or one word answer. Here comes three questions. One phrase or one sentence or one word. All right.
Okay.
Favorite hobby besides basketball?
I like puzzles.
Really? All right. Got a favorite verse, Bible verse?
Yeah. Recently it's been Romans 8:32. He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also graciously with him give us all things? It's good.
Yeah. How did you meet Amber?
We went to middle school together, so
Okay.
unfortunately I don't remember how I met her the first time. It's sad.
All right. And last one, when I say, what's next? How do you answer that right now? Can you answer that?
Yeah. Medical school is supposed to start in the fall, so that's longer term. Right now, I'm just really trying to make the most of the time I have with my family. Amber and Owen, we've lived this life for 6 years now. It started obviously just me and her, and then now Owen's been grafted in. And we know what it's like to be away from family and just be us. And it's been tough, but it's also been great because we've had to rely on each other and count on each other. That chapter of our life is kind of coming to an end, and it came to an end quicker than we thought it was going to. So trying to really kind of view this quarantine lockdown time as the closing pages of that chapter, and trying to make the most of it, trying to enjoy it and not miss out on whatever God may have for us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're going to pray for you, and we'll remember, especially for you and Amber and Owen, just, that next stage it's a transition that you can definitely use God's strength and courage as you head into it. So excellent. I'm going to hit the stop record on here, and hold on a second.